What's going on, everyone? Today was insane for the stock market as Bitcoin ripped to record highs. Tesla stock is taking off. AVGO, AI, quantum stocks, and so many other areas of the market are in rocket mode. There's a lot going on, and we have a huge rate cut decision later this week as well. Either way, we have a lot to talk about today, and there's a lot of opportunity in the market right now, so make sure to stick with us all the way until the end because there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, there definitely is, Mike, and it was a pretty crazy trading day out there. I'll say there was some pretty good recoveries across the broader market, of course. A lot of the big tech stocks started coming back besides NVIDIA. But I just have to hit on Bitcoin first and foremost because Bitcoin made a brand new high today, which was awesome, running all the way up to around $107,800. So definitely have your eyes on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin-related stocks. MSTR had actually a pretty good gap up this morning as it was added into the NASDAQ, as we knew on Friday, and it had a pretty good day overall, but actually closed down in the red towards the end of the day there. But a lot of people were banking on it running up this morning, and there's been just so much good price action with some of these Bitcoin related companies, Mike, and of course Bitcoin itself with that new high.
You know it. But we all know the true star of the show is Tesla. This thing is going crazier and crazier every single day. Right now, it is at $467 a share in after hours. Just a couple months ago, this stock was trading for below $200. What is going on here?
The post-election run continues, Mike. We just keep seeing fantastic price action out of Tesla. New all-time highs are continuing to be made, and I will say I have my eyes on $500 coming up. We are pretty close to $470, almost even $480 in the short term, but $500 will be a huge resistance that I'm watching for with Tesla in the short term. And of course, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world and almost doubling Jeff Bezos here on the list for the Forbes richest person. $450 billion. He'll be to $500 billion in no time. How long for $1 trillion? Let me know in the comments.
This is crazy. Yeah, Elon's net worth has been skyrocketing over these past couple of months especially. And like you said, it's just a matter of time before he gets to that trillionaire status, which is pretty crazy to say. But either way, looking at Tesla stock, Tom, the skies are clear in terms of resistance. But what are some psychological levels to keep in mind? And what levels should we watch with this one given how crazy this action is?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to see it running up as much as it was today. I'm definitely watching 470, which is just above the high of day today, around 467. So if we end up seeing a good breakout of 470 tomorrow, I guess you could look for every $5 mark, like 475 and then 480. I did see some sellers stacked at 480 today, so that'll be on watch, of course, before we head towards 500. But I definitely can't wait for $500. But for tomorrow, I think the main level to watch is 470. And if we do see a pullback, 461 was actually a huge resistance today that might act as good support.
All right, good to know. And another level I was also keeping on watch with this one was right around 458. That was a small intraday support, nothing too crazy, but it's something worth keeping on watch. And then same thing for 456. But either way, keep Tesla close on watch. It is in crazy mode right now. But another area of the market that's skyrocketing is the quantum side of things. So just a couple weeks ago, we had Google have a ton of hype with their new quantum tech release. Basically, of course, this skyrocketed Google, but it's also sending other shares higher like IONQ, RGTI, and QUBT, just to name a few. These stocks are going insane right now. QUBT moved up by 65% just today. And when you look at some of these other quantum stocks, whether they be IONQ, RGTI, or others, they are moving with a ton of momentum right now. And they are some of the most volatile, smaller cap stocks in the entire market.
Yeah, and some of the options on these stocks have went insane in the short term. I can't believe it. Like whenever I go to RGTI's chain and especially QUBT's chain with this 65% move today, some of the moves that we're seeing in the stock itself, even like from, I would just say the low a couple months ago to where it is now is up 1,500%. And I didn't even pick the exact low there. I could have made this look even better. But yeah, QUBT has some pretty insane movement in the short term. And the cool thing is, Mike, is the QUBT had a pretty solid resistance in the short term around 930 to 950, a little double top that it just blasted above today. I think there could actually be some good continued movement out of these stocks because there's a ton of hype ever since that Google news.
Big time. And whether we're looking at quantum stocks or Tesla or Bitcoin or anything else that we talk about today, like, yes, it's awesome to, get all hyped up when we see crazy movement like this. And there's a ton of opportunity that goes along with it. But you have to prioritize trading in a smart way. Don't bag hold losing setups, have stop losses, respect them, and trade smart and trade disciplined. Keep that in mind because there's a lot of opportunity right now, but trade in a smart way to actually capitalize off of it. But another stock that is still moving in a strong way is ticker symbol AVGO. This stock took off towards the end of the week last week, and it's up over 11% on the day. It's past $1 trillion in market cap, and there's a lot of momentum here too.
Yeah, let's go. And they actually got upgraded by Goldman Sachs today, which was pretty awesome. Their price target was adjusted to $240 from $190, adding that they have now higher conviction, in quotes, on their company's outlook. So looking good. Goldman Sachs is a huge institution, so obviously to get their praises is a great thing for Broadcom. And ever since the earnings, like you said, there's been a great move out of the stock. If we go back to the pre-earnings level, it was at right around the 180 mark to the recent high today. It was up around 39 to 40% in just that short time. And Mike, this was actually a good candidate for an earnings continuation play. We say this all the time. You don't have to necessarily risk it all and buy these stocks or options before earnings. You can obviously wait for the earnings report to come out and then trade the good continuation move after, like we're seeing with AVGO. And we'll be talking about this with a couple other earnings stocks here later in the video.
You already know. But, one common trait that we're definitely seeing in the market right now is a lot of positivity and strength and euphoria with like computing related stocks. And I know that's super broad, but when you look at like some of the quantum stocks like we were talking about, of course, there's a lot of momentum there. When you look at ticker symbol AVGO, there's a lot of momentum there as well. But we're even still seeing a lot of strength out of certain names in the AI space. And I know, again, it's somewhat broad, but when you look at like stocks like SoundHound, which is SOUN, and then ticker symbol AI, both of these stocks are moving in a strong way as well, and they're also certainly worth keeping on the radar because these stocks have been uptrending a while before some of these other stocks. So either way, keep them on the radar.
Yeah, these are some pretty awesome charts. Like AI is actually testing some pretty huge resistance from the past here on the chart as well, right around $44 to $45. So I'll be watching that. And then there is that recent high up around 48. But I would say the main resistance there, though, is right around that 44 to 45 area, like I listed. And, Mike, ticker symbol SOUN looks even better, right? It's continuing to blast up, just made a new all-time high. And I would love to see another breakout above $20. It's right at a key psychological level with SoundHound. So there's a few really good levels with these stocks that in the short term, we could see some great breakout opportunities above there, kind of like what we saw today above this double top right around 1825, provided a great move as that momentum came in.
There we go. So while there are certainly some stocks that are ripping to the upside, there are certainly a fair share of other stocks that are not. When we look at today's heat map, we could actually see that despite all of the bullishness through like the strongest stocks, 64% of the market today closed down in the red, and the big boy, Nvidia, actually fell by nearly 2%. And I think this caught many people by surprise, given how strong Nvidia has been over the past couple of years. And, Nvidia has a lot of exposure to some of the areas in the market right now that are very hot, but even with all of that, the stock is still falling.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm starting to get pretty worried about it in the short term, Mike. There's a big support from today right around the $130 mark. And I was actually pretty surprised to see it break under 132 here today. But I know that NVIDIA just keeps falling more and more. It's technically in correction territory since it fell more than 10% from its record high there. And in the short term, that 130 area is definitely something that I will be looking at to the downside. And I'll be talking about NVIDIA a little bit later whenever we talk about some of our setups for tomorrow, because I think it's in a very interesting pattern here.
All right, sounds good. Well, either way, we are heading into a strong time of the year. When we look at the seasonality data, we can see that the market tends to be pretty strong in December, but especially in that second half of December. Today is December 16th, and we could see that it is one of the first few days of when the uptrend normally tends to start out. So definitely keep this in mind, and if history is any guide, we should be set for a pretty strong end to the year.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see this continuation off of today. The SPY actually had a really good run off of today, and I would say held that 602 to 602.50 support extremely well from the past couple weeks. So with today's movement, Mike, I'm really looking at SPY for tomorrow for a breakout up above that 608 area. Of course, once we break that, I'll be watching for 608.50 and 609. There's been a lot of chop on the SPY up around these upper ranges here. So hopefully, this seasonality data stays true and we keep getting some good breakouts, because I would love to see a new all-time high. And the main thing I'm watching for the next couple days is a breakout up above 609. If that happens, then of course we'll be watching for 610, which is the next psychological level. But I thought SPY actually had a great recovery move today, Mike, and kind of surprised me on how much that it actually ran up and broke out above 607, which I had as resistance. It did slow down there a lot, so I will be using that as resistance again tomorrow. And for big supports, I'll be watching 605 and 604, which have been on the radar for the past couple weeks, and we just keep seeing bounces there.
Yeah, and I think it's very smart to keep those levels on watch, because I'm also a little bit concerned with some of this lower high action we keep seeing with SPY. We are seeing like bearish breadth in the market, like we talked about in yesterday's video, where we're seeing the market itself do fine, but we're seeing a higher percentage of stocks in the S&P 500 actually close lower compared to those that are closing higher. So essentially what this makes for is, a couple stocks that are carrying the market, like Tesla and some of these other big tech stocks, where we're seeing like broader profit taking. And while that's awesome, like when everything's running to the upside, it does present some risk when the uptrend naturally slows down. And when I look at SPY in the short term, I see a lot of chop, like you were saying, and I'm not liking how it's making these lower highs ever since Friday, December 6th. So that's just something worth keeping in mind, because when we see lower highs like this, it ultimately shows that, the selling pressure is becoming, more and more urgent, and that it's also like, sticking around, which isn't necessarily good.
Yeah, it's an overall downtrend here on the SPY, and it's not something that's good to see in the short term for sure. And I will be watching for the downtrend to possibly break, but obviously we need to see a true move up and out of there, right? Until we really get a good breakout up above 608.50 to like I said, that 609 area, I don't think that I'll be very bullish. But once we break there, obviously, all hands on deck, right? Because we'll be in uncharted territory once again. But I think in the short term, Mike, honestly, I think the best thing to do is to continue to look at where the money's flowing rather than the choppy movement with SPY, like a ton of these stocks that we talked about, like IONQ and others.
Yep, I 1,000% agree. And another thing that you have to keep in mind for this week is that we have the big man, Jay Powell, coming back. So on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time is when we will get the FOMC interest rate decision. The market is expecting a rate cut, so that's nice to see. But Jerome Powell will speak 30 minutes after that, so at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, when Jerome Powell speaks, you better listen. He's, like, in my opinion, the most powerful person in the world when it comes to the stock market, and what he says matters, and it surely moves stock prices.
Yeah, it definitely does. And for tomorrow, 1 hour before open, we do have retail sales coming out that could move the market a little bit. So definitely keep that in mind. And then, of course, we do have some earnings this week. RCAT reported tonight. And then Wednesday, we're going to see Micron and LEN or Lennar report. And then Thursday, we got Nike and FedEx on the radar. So like I said yesterday, not the biggest week for earnings, but MU will be interesting. And MU did have some pretty good price action today, which surprised me considering NVIDIA was down so much.
True. Yeah, it's going to be a fun week either way. So besides that, Tom, let's get right to some setups and predictions then. A stock that is definitely on my radar is Rivian, and it is to the upside. This stock has been uptrending in a pretty strong way over the past couple of weeks, and it popped up by 7% today, which was nice to see. And I like how in like the the grand scheme of things, the stock is still like pretty low compared to like the uptrends that we've seen out of a lot of other stocks, but it still has the potential to move in like a strong momentum filled like way. When you have a 7% update like we saw today, it shows a lot of strength, and the stock has been uptrending pretty actively over the past few weeks. Either way, I like the short-term strength that we're seeing with this one, and while it's certainly not like the craziest setup in the history of the market, it does offer some like decent movement. So either way, Rivian's on my radar. The more pressure it puts on its highs, the better.
Oh my gosh, Mike, did hell freeze over? You just said Rivian to the upside. I remember back whenever you were talking about Rivian when it IPO'd to the downside, and I think you saved a lot of people in the stocked up community, Mike, as it fell down 95% there. I'll never forget that.
Tom, I'm going to be honest. When Rivian first IPO'd, I was the biggest hater of that stock. Like it IPO'd, and I was like looking at the valuation. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like the way that the market was so euphorically pricing it, it was insane. And the stock lost 90% of its value since then. But I guess things change.
Yeah, definitely, especially in the short term here, because there is some good momentum. I got to give it that. That breakout today up above like that $15 resistance was pretty hot. I'll definitely be watching it too. I have a weird one that's on watch as well in the short term, which is DJT, which has been going under the radar the past couple weeks. It's been slowly but surely recovering up from recent lows, and as of today is actually up 44% from the bottom of that dip, which is pretty dang good, of course, on the just an individual stock. But whenever I'm watching this, Mike, it seems like the momentum's starting to increase a little bit, and I could see it starting to pick up a little bit, get some more steam going in the short term. So if I see a good breakout tomorrow up above 39, I'll be watching it to the upside. Just realize this one's a very, very risky stock, and the options on it can get pretty crazy as well. Make sure you definitely know what you're doing with the chain.
All right, sounds good. Another stock that is close on watch is Starbucks, and it is to the downside. So this one fell by nearly 4.5% today, and the price action was bloody. When we look at that intraday PA, it spent a lot of time near its low of day, and it just downtrended pretty consistently. At the same time, when you zoom out on this stock, it has been in complete like chop zone for like the past couple of years now, and it's also making lower highs ever since July of 2021 as well. Either way, Starbucks is definitely on my downside radar, and I could definitely see more weakness coming into play here, but I'll also say that I could see this setup taking like a couple of days to play out.
Yeah, I'll be watching it down as well. That was a very bloody candle today, down 4.41%. I could at least see it touching its recent lows on the daily, but with my next setup, I'm looking at NVIDIA also to the downside here as it's starting to straddle that huge support around 130, kind of like we talked about earlier, and I thought today even the move below 132 was a pretty awesome intraday move, but going over to the Bookmap here, there's over 1 million shares stacked up at 130 as a crazy buy wall. So this has to be on watch in the short term. If we start to see this give out, I'll be watching for a larger drop out of NVIDIA. If we don't see the breakdown though, obviously it's not a play to the downside. You might have to counter trend it back up, but I really want to see the break before an entry, and then obviously the Bookmap would be an awesome place for that, Mike, is where else are we going to see these million shares stacked up at 130 with the X-ray vision? Shout out to Bookmap here for all the awesome levels as always.
Yeah, shout out Bookmap. You guys are awesome. But besides that, Tom, it is now about that time for today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Hood to the upside.
Robinhood went crazy today. If they break out above $44, keep watching them up, and that was an insane run.
All right, with the next one, we have one of the crazy quantum stocks, IONQ, to the upside.
Yeah, here we go. IONQ, if they end up breaking $43, keep looking for the push higher again, right around the high of day today.
All right, and then with the last one, we have SoFi, also to the upside.
If SOFI can break out above $17.05, then keep watching SoFi up as well. It wasn't up as much as the others, only 3.88%, but whenever you zoom out, it's starting to break some pretty key resistance.
All right, sounds good. So we have SoFi, IONQ, and Hood on watch for potential moves to the upside tomorrow. If and only if they break through the levels listed. Basically, the stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, don't force the setups. And also remember that because these stocks are crazy volatile, you have to be more than happy to adjust and flow with the trend changes as they happen. The worst thing any trader can do is bag hold losing setups. So either way, keep these momentum style setups on watch. And let's get right into today's $660,000 big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol U, looking at Unity. Today, the big money bought the 25 strike call options that expire on September 19th of 2025. This is a $660,000 trade where the more Unity goes up, the more money that the big money trader here will make. Understand that this option does have some time to it, so be willing to, give this setup the time it needs. What Unity does tomorrow or next week has really no difference. Looking at you, it is still pretty overextended to the downside in the grand scheme of things, but it has been gradually building more and more momentum over the past few months. We have seen a slight dip in the short term with Unity, and it looks like the big money is taking advantage of that and buying that dip. But either way, I think the setup will be pretty interesting. I really like how it's at an option that's at the money, and it has a good amount of time to it, and the market itself has been pretty bullish, and Unity has been building more and more strength over recent months. So should be interesting.
Yeah, that's a pretty good dip in the short term, touching a key support around 25, where we've seen tons of other touches in the past. That would be a good level to confirm off of and continue up after today, but just realize it does have time. Obviously, tomorrow's move isn't really the biggest deal with this play, so you just have to keep that in mind, but nonetheless, this is a pretty good short-term support. Unity is one of those growth stocks, Mike, that has been recovering up very, very well this year, and I could see it at least getting back towards like the middle of this big range. It was in a crazy range for about 2 years in the past, and I could see it trading back into there pretty well.
Yep, so either way, keep this one close on watch going forward. But before we continue on, we have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Paragana, in the Stocked Up Discord. They had a great post in the profits channel today showing some awesome profits with multiple different tickers, but especially Tesla. So huge shout out to you, Paragana, and keep up the great work going forward. You've been in the chat for a little bit over a month now, so it's awesome to see posts like this one, and he's a member of the notification squad. So if you guys haven't already, definitely check out the new post channel in our Discord where you can get notified for, of course, new YouTube posts, but also our Instagram posts. So if you guys have not checked out the Stocked Up Instagram yet, definitely check it out. We post some pretty funny stuff on there, and you also get recaps kind of like this one, but just in Instagram format, so they're like a lot quicker to read and follow, and you could just know important information in just a couple minutes. So definitely check that out, StockedUp.University. If you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. We post all the time, and when you subscribe, you'll see and hear more of us more often. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching. We have a lot on the schedule this week. Not only do we have stocks, like especially big ones like Tesla, AVGO, Nvidia, and others moving in big ways, but we also have a very important rate cut on Wednesday. So either way, it should be a very exciting week. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.